skinny about what foreigners are actually making and how much does it really take to survive in the Philippines as a foreigner who decided to move here and make a go at it. We hear a lot of people who say they're making X amount of money per month. Now, whether they are or not is just trying to magnify or exaggerate what their monthly income is. Whether or not that's true, the reality of it is that the average salary for a Filipino out here that's maybe not a professional, anywhere between, an average job could be 13 to 17,000 pesos a month. For example, excuse me, a call center that averages out sometimes about, if you've been there a while, you make about 17, you can even make 20. It's according if you've been there a while and you've got raises and whatnot, if they even give raises out here. Sometimes they do. So they're kind of caught up in this conundrum, really, that salaries here in the Philippines is just not very good. And I mean, a general practitioner, doctor, there might be some foreigners that make more money than a general practitioner, and maybe some make more money than an actual uh, specialist, whether it's a heart doctor or whatnot. They make pretty decent money in the Philippines, but comparatively to U.S. salaries, it's night and day. So, what's the real skinny on what is a good amount of money? And I want to get suggestions from my viewers. What do you think is a good, decent amount of? I'm going to ask you the question first, and then I'll come back with some stuff. What do you think is a good, converted to pesos if you have to, a good monthly income for a foreigner to survive and even do well in the Philippines? There's a difference now. Do you plan or do you make a lot of trips? Do you eat out very often? That's gonna $4.99 a month. No, we know somebody who tried that, Crazy Joe, but that just didn't work out. It didn't. And the person has to, you know, borrow money all the time from people and not pay them back and get himself in trouble. No, you can't. That's long gone. There might have been a time. There might have been a time where you could survive on $500 a month, but we're going back about 20 years probably. There is something called inflation. Okay, the average Social Security check. Now, unless you make a pension on top of that, the average Social Security check could vary between maybe 15 and I don't know, maybe even 2,000 a month, maybe more like 17, more on an average, I would say, right? 1,500 USA. Yeah, that's not really far off the figure of what I would pull in on Social Security. And up to a certain point of time, and we were always able to survive on somewhere around that figure. Okay, of course, keeping emergency money in the bank, that's critical. Now, a lot of people doing comparisons as well. If you make 1,500 a month, that's not a lot of money by American standards. Well, the thing is, you're not living on American standards when you live in the Philippines. Now, let's say you came up with a figure of 1,500 a month. Okay, let's go with that. Uh, a local Filipino here can live off 1,500 American dollars a month very nicely and have money left over. You can certainly live off 1,500 a month, even if you're paying rent. If you're going to just choose to buy local produce, meats, fish, whatever, you can do fine. It's never harmed me. But then, of course, if you own your own house, you don't have to pay a rent. That's even better, a lot better. Now, as a foreigner, you can't make any money here unless you're, maybe in partnership with a Filipino, and there's certain restrictions on that too. It's unfortunate for foreigners, but even would a foreigner really want to work? If they actually could work in the Philippines and make these kind of wages, put 8 hours in a day just to make, 15,000 pesos per month. No, you're not gonna find a foreigner that's gonna do that. Some do. I mean, maybe some teach English, and I know somebody that's not a YouTuber that's been doing this 20 years. I forgot how long, somewhere around there, and he's been teaching English. And he's not making a fantastic income, but was able to survive whether living in here in the Philippines or in Korea, where he had a lot of his teachings. But yeah, when you talk about $500 a month, I mean that's an impossible figure. It's just impossible to really live and thrive on 500 American dollars per month. Those days are long gone. They're done. Okay, so you came up with a figure of 1,500 a month. I would say that's a good base. If you could find ways of increasing your income, even better, because 1,500 a month, even 1,200 a month. Okay, you could survive on that. But and sometimes you could do very well. It's just according to your lifestyle. But if you found ways of increasing your, you could live that much better. And catching up with inflation, that's important too. So you got to keep that in mind. No matter what you make per month, there's inflation that's going to lower. Now, right now, you're all very happy with your Social Security checks because we're like at what 56. It's been pretty stable lately, around 56 and above. PHP, so your dollar goes a long way, doesn't it? And it does. You're very fortunate. It's not, hello, Jiffy. It's not always going to be that way. It'll fluctuate 50 to 56. It'll even go below that. And you got to be able to compensate for that somehow, but you're not going to control inflation here in the Philippines. That's just not going to happen. So how do you make money out here? Well, you can't really do it. Not really. You can't really do a business on your own. And you can't even really work for your Filipina if she has a business, because that wouldn't be allowed. There's a lot of foreigners that put together, sorry stores and other kinds of shit, cookeries, eateries, and all that stuff. And they were participating in that venture, but they're not supposed to actually be. They could get shut down, or he can get. It's unfortunate, but either way, would you really want to work in the Philippines? Now, there are some American companies that occupy the Philippines where you can work and make American wages. Okay, so there's ways of doing that pay people in America. If it's a U.S. government operation that's going on in the Philippines, chances are you're getting U.S. money, so it's worthwhile. But is it worthwhile taking on some menial job in the Philippines to make 12,000 pesos a month? Forget it. You're retired. You're not supposed to be working anymore. You're supposed to be relaxing, but to go work 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day to make 15, 16, $17,000 pesos rather a month. Nah, that's not gonna fly. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you everything about my situation, but I've actually more than doubled what I normally make. Well, our household has. That's going to actually triple. It's going to actually triple in about 4 months. But we're not going to go on wood. We're not doing a 5-6. We're not lending out any money. Nothing like that. It's something that my girlfriend does that benefits both of us. So we're in a very comfortable position, you know, uh, because of that. Of course, I'm the investor actually with my money. That's it. As far as it goes, I have no involvement other than saying, here's some money. Do what you want to do with it. That's it. And anybody can do that. It's not illegal. You can give money to anybody you want. What they do with their money is, their business. So that's kind of what's going on here. So I would estimate in about less than 2 years, maybe a year and a half, probably be able to quadruple what we have as a household income here. Now, we're not going to go through any figures or anything like that, any exact figures, but we're doing better than we used to do. That's for damn sure. That will enable us to travel and do things that we need to do and have money left over to sock in a bank even more. It's a good position if you could get in that type of position. But it's really who you know, very important, how much you trust somebody and how well their business is doing. And you have to have the person has to have the collateral. If you make an investment, they have to have the backup collateral if something ever happened that you can get your money back. Otherwise, you don't get involved with any business adventures unless everything is legal on paper and stamped and the whole ball of wax, permits and all this shit. Watch what you do in the Philippines. Just watch what you do, because some of these things are big scams. Don't ever get involved with things like 5-6. You don't want to do that. You don't want to borrow any money, that's for sure. Okay, I guess I gotta read some here. Good morning. Pennywise says, Frank, when they open up the Filipino bases to American forces, do you think American civilians could possibly get hired on the American? I would not be surprised. You really should look into that because there's a possibility. And you're going to get American wages. Okay. Yeah, I know there's a lot of military coming back into the Philippines here. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with what's going on with China. I mean, that's just my opinion. There's always been tension with China. And by the way, I was watching, and it's kind of off topic, but Yashimoto. I never get his name right. His gold, and very interesting story. And that in depth, I followed that, and how this one guy who was a locksmith actually found one of the bunkers just about when he was giving up and his money was running out to have his workers. And he came across. He wouldn't believe what he came across. It's just so phenomenal. Just go and look it up and the whole story. Understand something that uh, I just call him Yashimoto. I never get his name right. This Japanese guy during World War II, they went around and they went around and they stole money from all over Asia, all the banks, every kind of wealth that they could get their hands on, jewelry, gems, large sums of money, gold. They took, and what they did was, if you're familiar with the stories, that they put it in. They had to hide it in different Philippine islands. There's maybe 174 possible locations. Now, we're talking about trillions, okay? It's not millions, not billions, but trillions. If you were to convert all that stuff into dollars, okay? Figuring that, when this war is over, that they'll be able to bring this back to Japan. And what they would do is take the gold they had, a lot of it was the jewelry, they'd melt it down and put their own stamp that says Japan on there. And then, but they needed a place to store this during the war. They couldn't do it during the war, with the idea that if they won the war or whatever happened, that they could bring this stuff back to Japan, right? What didn't happen. And what happened was that money was still stuck in numerous places, right here in the Philippines. Uh, One of the biggest caches that was actually found, cache, was right from the Manila General Hospital. Okay, not too far from there. That was the locksmith guy who diligently has been looking for treasures. He finally, when he got a hold of a metal detector, it helped him a lot. Anyway, bottom line is he found the treasure. As miraculous as it was, there was a big Buddha in there made of gold, and inside that statue, it was filled with large diamonds, not to mention the crates, 1,000 crates with 1,000 bars, or how many bars were in each crate. It was an incredible amount of money. Then what happened was, is that he had pictures taken of him with the Buddha statue, and the Marcos got a hold of that, and he wanted that money. He wanted the power. So his men came over there, took the shit away from him. But then it was deemed later on that the government allowed the locksmith to Roxas. His name was Rock. Maybe they named some of the streets after him. It was at Roxas. That was the locksmith's name. It was George Roxas or something like that. Okay, he managed to get it. But see, what wound up happening is that Yashimoto, whatever, I'm just call him Yashimoto, okay, for the hell of it, okay, okay, just for the sake of argument, okay. Yeah, there is in Mindanao, yeah. What happened to him is he wound up, you know, getting killed because all the war crimes and everything he did. So his knowledge of where all this shit was, was gone. But he had one assistant, and this Japanese guy who was brilliant. He was young. He was an Oxford graduate. An Oxford graduate. Smart guy. And he had all that knowledge of where the shit was. Okay, there was a map that the locksmith got hold, but it just couldn't give him enough information of his own. But see, this guy who was the Oxford graduate that worked with Yashimoto had all this knowledge of where everything was, but then he wound up dying of, I think, of TB or something. So his knowledge went out the window too. Here we are left with how many damn spots, and Baguio is one of them, Mindanao and so forth. They wanted to pick what they call remote islands. But what they did was some of the engineers that were, digging out these caves to put all this gold. Again, let's call him Yashimoto. I know Yashimito, whatever. Let's call him Yashimoto. Okay, let's stick with that. Okay. He wound up exploding these mines while his engineers were still in there because he didn't want anybody to get the information out of where all this loot was hidden. Found this. He also found 2 skeleton bodies clothed with look like, Japanese military, because that proves the point that he didn't want anybody to know, want to keep the well-kept secret. So even his engineers were killed in the process of making these caves to hide all the loot. So it still remains that there are places that contain an enormous amount of gold. There are even American and others explorers and that are trying to find the rest of the gold. Now, call him George Rojas, the locksmith. He wound up getting all this stuff. Okay, went into court and he wound up keeping this. Now, he had died, unfortunately, um, some disease. He had died in his 50s. I don't know if his family got the rest of it. But what happened was the president at the time, who was big on power and money, and his wife loved shopping, and she was extremely greedy. He wanted to get his hands so bad on Roxas or Rojas, his treasures. So he had his men come over there and take all that shit. But he had to wind up giving it back. Okay, wind up giving it back. Ever since then, um, and I really don't know the current history on the family of the locksmith, whether they still have that riches, whether they're able to turn that into cash or whatever. I'm not sure about that. I haven't followed that much on there, but there's so many people that are still trying to find this payload. I mean, they went around all over Asia, the Japanese, and they just looted everything. Anyone of wealth, they drained them dry. Took from banks, gold supplies, everything, jewelry, high value for the purpose of bringing it back to Japan. But that didn't work for them. The Japanese got defeated. Yashimoto died with the knowledge. His trusty companion, the Oxford graduate, Japanese officer, went also with that information to his grave from an illness. So henceforth, there's still a lot of treasure out there. I mean, this guy, I mean, the amount of loot they took is phenomenal, certainly by today's standards, and certainly by standards back then. A phenomenal amount of money. Of course, people are looking for that. Right now, there's still more places. They would just basically set booby traps on these caves that they made. They would block it off, of course, hide it. But what they did, they had these little toxic gas cylinders that if you did get into one of these treasure troves and you managed to get in, find it, that if you step on this, it would release a toxin that would kill you. Well, that didn't happen for Rojas, but they would have these booby traps and stuff in there to protect the riches that they looted from all of Asia. They were smart, and smart enough to kill the engineers that were responsible for putting together these hidden spots in the mountains and otherwise, even behind a waterfall. They were very clever on what they did. They were extremely clever. Of course, it was the Oxford graduate who's the one that suggested that they go around looting the country and other countries. And yeah, the artifacts, which is incredible, yeah, is his suggestion. And Yashimoto went along with it, thought it was a great idea, and they executed that. They went around to every fucking Asian country with their armies, pounded in there, taking money from the riches, probably even taking the damn jewelry off their own fucking hands of these people, going in banks and doing a takeover. It was incredible, but it didn't go the way they wanted to, the Japanese, because they lost the war. But the two most very important people that knew the location of this, now they found a guy that actually, and by the way, what you didn't know is that they used a lot of American prisoners and Filipino to dig out these spots. But you can imagine that, they were probably killed. One guy who witnessed this was a Filipino, and he gave some of that information to Rojas, that Rojas went with. Okay, and that's how he figured out some stuff. There was a map, but it was not a very detailed map. It didn't give distances, more of a geometric map that didn't really seem to give you too much of an idea in detail where something was, but he managed to figure it out. Smart for what he was, his profession. Bottom line, he managed to figure it out, got his metal detector. After he didn't have any more money. He had no more money to pay his work. He's about to give up. So he decided to go back on his own with his metal detector. And lo and behold, he got a reaction to the metal detector. And they had him back then in the 1940s, whatever. And it rang up something. So by hand, he decided to dig into there, finally got a little hole in there. He took his flashlight, looked in there, and lo and behold, he was able to see all the crates because they packed all these gold bars in crates. 1,000 crates. Can you imagine that? 1,000 crates. I forgot how many they say was in each crate. Amazing, just amazing. He got lucky, more than lucky. What's the odds in Vegas of that happening? But it happened. And ever since, there's people still looking for that treasure. But there's a lot of expenses in excavation. There's the environment. And there's even environmental issues that the Philippine government might have. Basically, my understanding is that you could keep the money if you find it in a mountain or somewhere. If it's found in the ocean, I believe there has to be either in full to go to the government or a large portion of it if it's at sea. But I think on land in a mountain somewhere, I think it's yours. But the worst thing you could do is to announce what you found, because the greedy people are going to be out there, people of power, and they want to come there and threaten your family and everything else, or kill you if you don't tell them what the location is or give up whatever your loot that you found. You're dead. George Rojas, he got lucky on that he didn't die at the hands of Yashimoto. He got lucky. He just came and took everything from him. I'm sure there were threats made, but he took this to court. He how, but he won. But let's not forget the president at the time who loved money and had greed, and money is power, and he wanted more power. He had to have those riches. Of course, he sent his men, his henchmen, to go after Mr. Rojas. I may not be getting the names right, and that's okay, but you could look it up and get the exact. And that's exactly what he did. And of course, his wife was salivating at the thought of this, so she could buy her a couple of thousand pairs of shoes and everything she wanted. She went along with this whole thing. Now, whatever happened to the money, well, we're not going to talk about politics on the past president. I don't want to get into that and get into trouble. Let's just say a lot of money was made at the time on his own. He was actually a president that followed the rules. But what he did personally, outside of the rules of being a president, was really nasty politics outside of legal politics, let's just say. But they were greedy and hungry for money, their hands on something that sounds like a good deal. Sent their henchmen over there to get it in force. The country. People are looking for riches. It's a good story, and you should really kind of look into this. Channels don't need to talk about it and give it exact detail on how this all started. Okay, Liberty Taker says the scuba divers still got a decent cut and got rich too. Yeah, some of them still have dive shops on the Sabang Beach. Oh, really? Liberty Taker says scuba divers recouped most of it, but had to be given to the Philippines government. Yeah, I believe that goes with anywhere. I see a lot of shows, explorers that are looking for sunken ships that carry treasures in a lot of different areas of the world, and some of them come up with amazing riches, and they had to wind up certainly giving a lot of that to the government. They still came out looking pretty damn good financially. So was it worth it? Yeah, I guess it was worth it for them. But it's not an easy thing. I watch these shows on Oak Island. If you want to see about the Oak Island legend, and there's these guys that are digging on this small island. It's off the coast of, what was that? I'll research that again. I was watching that for years. They're still looking for Mayan treasure, but not in an area where you'd think the Mayans would be. But there were Spanish galleons and whatnot that hid money. They all do this, hid money on Oak Island, and there's a lot of proof that there was a lot of mining going on, actually digging down there, the old wooden beams and structures that go back hundreds of years, and other remnants that they found. So these guys are totally convinced that there's a major treasure down there, but they're spending millions of dollars trying to find out. But then again, they have money themselves to do it, and they got other people that are kind of pitching in on this operation. They've been doing this for years, but I don't think it made any money. Didn't find anything really significant, except evidence that somebody was hiding something. That's for damn sure. Yeah, sounds like the Gotti boys. Anyway, that's as far as getting back to what's considered a good in the Philippines. Well, it's all gonna, and this has been rehashed so many times, but things have changed now. That's why I can talk about it, because inflation is going bozo out here now, and things are changing. So those that have a very small income are having more difficulty now. surviving out here, and the ones that decide that, well, I want a greater lifestyle that I have, or I just can't deal with what I'm making. They're caught in a position where they just can't make any money on their own. It would have to go through their spouse or girlfriend, whatever. It has to go through a Filipino one way or the other. There's no other way of doing that out here. I mean, we are, but uh, special permits to work, and there's just special situations. You can make money on here. You can invest with a Filipino person, form a corporation or something like that. You could do that, which would be legal. But I think other than that, it's really hard to find. You're pretty much stuck with what you make per month unless you had an investment before that, like selling a house or property or land or something. So you got in a bank and all that. So you got this backup. And that's the smartest thing to do. I mean, before you come here, have a certain amount of money. Like when Ren Zero came out to the Philippines, he had came out here with an unspecified amount of money from work or whatever, retirement actually, his pension benefits he took out or whatever, and got a lump sum. I think is what happened with him, and he was basically living off that. And then, his wife eventually had to work because his money was running out on beer and cigarettes. Sound familiar? And they had to do something, so he had to go back to America. His money was pretty much expired to go make some good American money and get themselves on their feet again. But trying to get his now wife to come to America, which I always thought was the case anyway, upstepping. Because once you go to America, you don't come back really because the money's too good. My girlfriend has friends that have relatives, daughters and whatnot that live in America, and they go back there for a while. One gal goes back to San Diego, comes back here again, but they always go back there. And some of them who actually want to work in America, they go back to work, but they don't want to give up a good job because when they lived in the Philippines, they were making shit money. And how could I refuse making decent wages in America compared to what they were making in the Philippines? That's what keeps them in America. And what they do is this little thing, which works out good, is that they just make trips back and forth to the Philippines to see their relatives and everything. They keep that balance going. But chances are they're going to retire in America. Then when they have their retirement money, they can make that choice of, hey, I still like it here in America. I want to stay here. Or they go back to the Philippines and live there, and they live like a queen. So that's what a lot of people do. Jiffy Geechee. I've heard some people are so obsessed with gold and the fills they spend their days painting things yellow. Couldn't you resist that one, huh? I don't blame you. Pennywise says Mushroom Man is like King Midas. Everything he touches turns to gold. No, turns to yellow. Turns to yellow. Anyway, I'm not going to go through my financial portfolio. Let's just say that I'm doing a lot better than when I first started off as a household. A lot better. And in fact, much, much better. And people say that, we're broke. I laugh at that and I said, well, we make a decent income household wise, household, which means between the both of us, whatever our income sources are, we actually do fairly well. Fairly well. Most people, if they knew how much we bring in, they'd probably say, that's pretty good, dude. That's pretty good. Well, we're greedy and that ain't enough. You know, I can increase what I'm making in about another year. I could maybe double what I'm making. Of course, it takes more investment, but am I taking a chance on what I'm doing? There's a chance in life on everything, but we are familiar with the individual we do business with and what their business is. And my girlfriend's been doing this for quite a while. Gets her money all the time, and since I've been involved with it, it's really her money. It's kind of a double whammy here. Now we're bringing in a lot more money than I ever started off with. So instead of going south, I'm going north. We're happy with that. And a little bit we make, it helps too on the little AdSense here and there and so forth. That also helps us out a little bit. But when it all stems down, when you're with a Filipino, it's everything is for her. It's all for her. You know that. Eventually, you're not going to be. Usually, your Filipino's a lot younger, right? So eventually, you're going to croak like everybody has to sometime, and it's all going to be for her anyway. No matter what you do, it's hers. House, everything. Some people say, Frank, that's not your house, but that's according to how you look at it. It's my house. I paid for it. My name is on the tax declaration. I got 25-year lease on top of that. I don't care whose house it is. It's for her. The intent and purpose was to be her house, to take care of her future. That was the whole idea from the beginning. I knew it then, well as I know it now. Anything I do for her that she could utilize and profit from is hers. What am I going to do with it if I'm dead? I mean, duh, come on, really. I don't have any family members I would give a dime to, ever. This is my family out here. This is my family, my true family. The family I never had. But they are my true family. Okay, Pennywise says, there are eyes everywhere observing who is doing lending to small businesses and individuals. Many had men and women around that can be dangerous to people with money. There's dangers when it comes to money no matter where you are. Just don't display it, you know. Don't walk in the street with 100,000 pesos in your pocket. You know, use your card when you have to buy stuff. If you're in an area that there's action, you just bring enough money outside to take care of what, shopping, whatever you're going to do, buying some produce, fruits, meats, whatever. No, I don't advise anybody to carry a lot of money in their wallet. I'd advise you to have a dummy wallet, have a second wallet. If somebody sticks you up and says, give me your wallet, yeah, give them the wallet. Give them the dummy wallet that maybe has 20 pesos in it. Okay, because you're going to pull it out of your pocket. They don't figure you're going to have two wallets, right? Smart. Give them the dummy wallet. So you don't lose all your money and your cards, all this important information. I try to do, if I'm not going to use a debit card, I'm going to leave it at home, because if I lose the wallet, it gets stolen, it takes a long time to get that replaced. It's a pain in the ass. It's happened to me before. Nobody stole anything. One time they did, actually. Had to get a new card. A long time ago, I lived the other house. The house got robbed. But it takes a long time to replace that card and so forth. Don't leave any important, like even your ACR card. Put it to the side. If you're not using it, just don't put it in your wallet. I mean, it's a real hassle to try to get things replaced, and it winds up costing you money. So be careful when you go out. Use a dummy wallet sometimes. That might help. It's just a suggestion. So when somebody does come up there, puts a knife to your neck, okay, take my wallet, pull it, go in your pants, take the wallet, give them the wallet. Just put 20 or 40 pesos in there. Because they might get pissed off at you if there's not enough in it. It might slit your throat anyway. I don't know. It's a jeopardy. But, I don't know, man. Frank, you should hire Barry's ex-girlfriend. She has experience in the 5-6 lending. I'm not doing any fives. I'm not lending anybody any money. That's not what we're doing here. I'm not telling you what she's doing. She, meaning her. No, we're not doing any 5-6. We're not loaning any money out. I would never get involved with loaning money out. That's dangerous. You never get it back. When a Filipino asks you, hey, can I borrow 1,000 pesos? You're not going to get it back. Okay? It's gratis. Okay, libre. You're not going to get it back. I mean, 99.99%, you're not going to get that back. That's why don't lend out money to anybody. No matter who it is that you know, don't lend money to anyone. Bad move. Bad move. I told you about some woman I know that lived in Consolacion, and she had some Filipino friends, and she was like getting money from this foreigner, a lot of money per month. This guy promised her he was going to come out there, get married. Old guy, had medical problems, buy a house and everything else, but the guy's daughter kept on telling, no, don't give her any more money, don't give her any money. Anyway, she was making a couple of grand a month from this guy. So these Filipino friends of hers, or neighbors, always on hard times, were always trying to borrow money from her all the time. They got so used to it. So when this guy no longer, don't matter what the story is in between why, but when he no longer sent her that money, she was living on shit, okay? And she stopped helping these people. Oh, they loved her. They loved her to death when she was giving them money to help them out. But once the money stopped, they did some really crappy things. They cut her internet cable, whatever it was. Oh, yeah. She had all her work clothes. She worked for doing a call center, and all her good clothes that she would wear, that she had hanging on the line. She wakes up one morning and finds out somebody came with like scissors and shredded up a lot of the clothes that was on the line. Yeah, that's how far they went. They felt that this woman owed them that money. Imagine that kind of thought, where you get so spoiled that you think, hey, this person's been giving me money all this time, so they owe it to me. You don't owe them anything. But that's their train of mind. Yeah, smart. Wow, thank you. So, yeah, everybody speculates about how much money everybody makes on here, Everybody's always speculating something. Don't matter how much you make. If you're doing a show, you're still going to get super chat and everything else. People support your channel, you know. And what you do with that money is your business. If you want to give it out to fucking Filipinos or something, that's your business to do so. You know, it's your business to do so. You know, you don't have to advertise. I didn't even have to come out. And I'm still going to go through what I said I'm going to do. But Fazio seems to have a problem with that. He has a problem with everything, really. He's not going to give. It's going to go. He's going to get a relative to give it to. Oh, come on. Really. I don't have any relatives living in town here. If I gave money out to 25 random people in the street, come on, what's the chance that these are all Gilda's relatives? I mean, that's ridiculous. He's just not in any position to give money to anybody. When he gave the so-called 6,000 pesos to this nanny or nana, you know, it came from his viewers. It didn't come out of his own pocket. And to make it worse, what did he do? And I don't know why he was kissing this nanny's ass. I'm not sure. Maybe he has an interest in her romantically. Who knows? So he took a picture of the family, sent it out to have a 10 by 13 made, and then put it in the frame. And what did he do? He deducted it from the 6,000 he was going to give them. But then he got some donations to cover that much. So nothing came out of his pocket at all. Nothing came out of his pocket. It wasn't through the goodness of his heart, because he doesn't have a heart. Okay, follow me? He doesn't have a heart. He's never given voluntarily to anyone in his fucking life. Certainly not here in the Philippines. He'll argue over a fucking peso with a strike drive. So there you go. I suppose I should. It will be called Christmas. Frank, it will be called Christmas if you give out money, Pennywise. It is already in the BER months. Pennywise says, have you gotten greeted Merry Christmas yet? No, I haven't. That's not, that might be their Christmas. It's not my Christmas, okay? I think they do this to get a head start on the economy, because it takes a long time to import stuff. They got to import this stuff for the season ahead of time to make sure that they are fully stocked up for the Christmas season. So, in theory, my theory anyways, that it's kind of like an unofficial, official thing, you know, September, which we are in right now, okay? Oh, by the way, guys, with Social Security, you already got paid already on that. So go into your account. You already got paid on that today if you haven't checked. They do this because of the necessity of having the product available at the time when you need it, because it does take a long time to get these goods when you import them. And that's why they just start early. They figure, well, we got the goods. Let's start decorating and, you know, call it Christmas now so we can make the best of this season. We got the merch. So let's sell it and let's make some money. And that's what it kind of comes down to. Frank, you live in the Philippines, so are you now in the Christmas season? Not in my mind, I'm not. No. I mean, I never even felt Christmas in Hawaii, you know, subtropical there. People, you know, go to the store, Safeway, and all these places selling Christmas trees. Oh, it was lovely to smell the pine scent on these real trees. I used to go there just to, because I lived amongst that stuff, the pines, you know, when I was in Washington State. Oh, yeah. It's a lovely smell. I just really like it. I used to go there just to smell the pines. It brought back some memories growing up. They got it all, you know, flocked with fake snow and all this other shit. You know, we always used an artificial tree in my adult years because, you know, that's another tree cut down that could have been helping the environment. Now, I understand that they're supposed to replace these trees with seedlings and all that when they take them down, but how many people are really doing that? How many people secretly are going into national forests and cutting down trees so they don't have to spend on Christmas? There's a lot of people doing that too. They don't realize that these trees are the very thing that's giving us oxygen. Like I said, the human race is really fucking dumbass, stupid, dumber than a day is long. Really are. They're stubborn. People are killing themselves in every way possible in their environment. So what good is money in the future if you can't grow any produce? The air is polluted. What good is money? You burn it to make a fire to keep warm. That's how important money will be one day if we still have paper money. Use it for fire. And you would. If you were in a situation out in the cold and you had all this loot on you for whatever reason you're carrying that kind of money, all paper bills, you're going to burn them suckers because it's going to mean nothing to you, but your survival is going to be, but it's just a piece of paper with numbers on it when you really think about it. It's all it is. So hell, you'll burn that like shit. Movie or something about, I don't know, the big freeze was coming in. They were in New York, and I think they were in the library, the big library, and they were burning novels. I mean, expensive, rare books and everything, throwing it in this big fireplace to keep warm because it didn't matter. It was just survival. Fuck the books. It's just a fucking book. Utilize it for the paper. Utilize it to use as a source to burn some, get some fire going and keep warm and survive. When it's going to be like 60 below zero outside, you'll burn anything. Money don't mean shit. It doesn't really when you think about it. But your preservation of life means a whole lot more than money's ever going to be. The value that we put on money compared to your life, I mean, to your health. Sure, money can buy you good health, good doctors and stuff like that, but it's not going to cure eternal illness. We've talked about this before. I mean, money's great to have, but it's just money, paper. You can wipe your ass with it on some occasions, That's how meaningless it really is. But in today's society, of course, you got to survive. And unfortunately, survival means that, we're not hunter-gatherers, most of us, We go to grocery stores to buy all our foods. Of course, if you watch some of these documentaries on TV, the people living north of the Arctic and all that stuff, you got Sue Atkins. It was in the late 50s. Rumor is that she died, but she didn't die. And she's a tough old bird. She's even got attacked by a grizzly, got pretty messed up and survived it. I mean, she's a tough old bird. I like watching her. She has a little operation. I used to be a government base for a gasoline pickup or something, and she makes money from the hardy people that want to come out there and rent one of our little cabins, which basically are storage containers, and she's got heater systems and everything. She's very clever. And she used that as a base for other airplanes to get gasoline. She makes a little money on that. She does pretty well. She made I don't know, I think her wealth is, she's got couple of $1 million. But she's been hurt, her hips are messed up. She's been attacked by bears. Tough old bird. It's a good show if you want to watch it. I think it's still on. I seen it last night, but I don't know how old it was. Tough old bird. I will tell you that. Most of us could not do what she does. But do you really want to live out in the Arctic like that? I don't like the cold, for one. I would rather live in the tropics because there's our ways of cooling off. Where if you are living in the Arctic in places like that, the northern frontier, Canadian, it's very difficult to keep warm. You got to have a definite source of wood. You're cutting all the time, or you're going to die. Because the weather can go down to 60 below. Caught food in the snow, freezing your ass off. Possibility of a bear attacking you, which is very real. Okay. Falling into a crevice and falling into possibly a river or whatnot that you don't know is under this unless you really know the territory. I mean, this is real stuff that they're doing. People that don't want to live with society. I can't blame half these people, to be honest with you, from what I witnessed as a human that's still alive on this earth and what I see on the news, what I've experienced myself. It's not a good society. People are getting really hateful. They are. People are extraordinarily selfish rather than selfless. I don't want to be one of them. But you have to coexist with almost, 8 billion people on this earth. You don't have a choice but to be around people. And there are places you could probably go. There are islands over here you could privately own. And I know right outside of Battaglia, there was an island for sale at one time. If you got a couple 100 million pesos, okay? But no electricity, and you might be able to get water from digging wells. You'd have to go back and forth to the main part of the land to get your supplies and go back. You'd have to have a generator that requires a lot of gasoline, which could cost you money. You would probably set up yourself with some solar, which will help. But if you really want to live like that, and if you could manage to find a way, you got your internet and the phone, you can watch movies. I guess you can do it. Would I want to live in total isolation like that? I don't think so. I don't really think so. Nah, it would get old after a while. You got to be around people because we are sociable animals. You don't have to be around a lot of people, and that's your personal choice. But I think to be around a lot of people all the time is too mind-boggling. That's why I couldn't live in a big city, and that's why I chose where I'm living now. There's a lot of people here, but not walking in Cebu or Manila or something. It's crazy, man. Can't get away from people, man. No matter where you go, every fucking corner, somebody's there. Or 100,000 fucking cabs and motorcycles on the road. I remember several days ago when I was in Cebu, toward the end of the day, I said I couldn't believe the traffic. It wasn't even a weekend. And I don't know what happened with those bridges they built to help traffic on the Mactan and all those places, but I don't really think it's helped at all. And the billions that they spent on that could have been spent on social programs to help people out. Because personally, I don't think they made a damn difference at all. I don't know what your opinion is if you're living out here, and you might be able to add to that. But yeah, it says, prove it. You act like you're broke. I'm acting like I'm broke. Who said I was broke to begin? Well, a lot of people say that, but it's not really their business. I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. But thank you, Carrie. I always appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, that's the woman who almost got killed by a bear. Yeah. She recovered. Went back. Right. She went back and killed it and ate it. What a woman that is, right? Incredible tour de force of a woman. She went back and killed it. She got even with that mofo. That's the best revenge I've ever heard, really. Somebody attacks you and you go after it when you heal later on and you attack it and eat it. Oh my God. Huh? Oh man, you don't have to make breakfast. I actually had some cereal.
Hi.
Oh my God, you know what we got here? Let me show you. I actually just had some cereal. This is pancakes with kiwi and sprinkles. Look at that. Pancakes with kiwi and sprinkles. Look at this. Can you see that? Wow. Radical. Pancakes with sprinkles and kiwi. Damn. Yeah, she's a force of nature, that woman. They got rid of one guy that Growich or Browich or whatever. Some differences, I don't know. There was one character on it they got rid of. They never called him back to do any, he claimed later on that it was some differences of opinion or something or whatever. He's probably looking to get more money or something. Nah, man, I couldn't live not the cold. I would, if I had a choice, it would not be somewhere cold. Rainbow sprinkles, folks. Rainbow sprinkles, folks. Yeah, well, I really didn't need to eat this since you made it, because I just had a bowl of muesli cereal with almond milk and blueberries. Yeah, well, kind of a double breakfast. Since she made all the trouble of making this, I'm going to honor her by eating it. Wow. The kiwi, if you can find it out here and you look around, you find that is really healthy for you. I'm not going to go into details. Just look it up. Benefits of eating kiwi. Go right ahead and do that, why don't you? Might be surprised. Certain things you eat. If you have to eat a lot, at least eat healthy. Majority of the time. All right, let's get back in order here for just a little bit. So we've got more people on here. How much do you think is a good amount of money as a foreigner who's going to retire here in the Philippines to survive on? And well, I kind of gave you my opinion on that. What is what you call a good figure? Okay, if it's just you and your mate or wife, and maybe if you had even a family out here. I'll leave it up to you. How much? What do you think? Somebody came in earlier and said about $1,500. I would have to agree with that. You could do a lot out here. No, you can't do a lot in the United States. Where people get confused and they start laughing at you saying that means you only make like $22,000 a year. Well, Einstein's, yeah, that would be piss poor in the U.S., but this is not the U.S. Big difference. Your money goes further out here. This is not the U.S. So go restructure your thoughts on that. You're sounding ridiculous when people say shit like that. Considering there's a lot of people that make a whole lot of less than that. How are they surviving? Well, any way they can. They may have to reduce their spending on frivolous items. You got to handle it some way because you got to survive. You got to do what you got to do. If you can find a way of making money legally out here, do it. Some people buy and sell things too. You could do that. Buy something for cheap and sell it for more. I mean, you could do that too, Everybody all over the world does that. People buy things in bargains at garage sales or advertisements on Facebook. They're selling it at a good price, and you could buy it for that price, and then you just resell it for more. And some people gather a lot of material, and the cumulative effect of having a lot to sell, getting it for a decent price and putting your little profit on it, you can make a little bit of money off of that. Kind of harder to do out here than it is in the United States. It really is. It's a lot harder. Okay. Anyway, anybody want to answer anything? Otherwise, I'm going to need to go here. I got to do my dumbbell shit, but I'm going to have to hit the treadmill. You know how I sound reluctant. I'm going to have to hit the treadmill. Well, Yeah, I do get reluctant. Yes, I do. But I should look at it as a labor of love, not a tedious effort to do. But no matter how many times I use it, it's all good. And usually on a daily basis, I have been using it. I didn't use it for several days when I had to make a trip into the Spruce City area, but I made up for it. Every little bit counts. As you get older, trust me, every little bit of activity that you do is going to benefit you one way or the other. It's unfortunate that people acting so stupid, they're going to drop dead because they think that fasting is going to help them. Normally it would, but it's how they do it, really. But an idiot is born every fucking day. There's always a new idiot coming on YouTube. Some have been around for an awfully long time. There are correct ways of doing things, and there's wrong ways of doing anything. What? I'll give you an example. My treadmill. What do you think? I'm like running like a racehorse on there on that? Hell no. I'm not at that level to do that. You got to start off easy with anything, man. Not even a couple of miles a day do I do around there so far. But you got to build up. Unless you will have heart problems. If you have something going on that you don't know about, well, that ain't good either. So you're going to do a regimen of exercise. Know your health. Know your capabilities. Work up from it. Start slow. Instead of going like fucking 5 miles per hour walking speed, which is a lot for you. Start off with 2.8 and maybe then graduate to 3.4, which I did. Okay, there you go. They use the 1898 to 1946 map of the U.S. territory. Who does? I don't know what that's. I should talk to somebody else in regards to something here. Oh, do. Oh, Delilah. Oh, what a beautiful day. Folks, it is a beautiful day when you can get up in the morning, see the sunshine, have a meal, everything's rosy, you're feeling good, you got a little sleep, you're doing okay. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. If you're going to retire, man, just make yourself comfortable as possible. We can't prevent diseases from hitting us. Not totally. We can't prevent an accident. But you do your best every day to keep as much as you can, healthy practices. Get rid of some if you can. If you can't, at least do something healthy in your life, because nobody's taking care of you in that way. Nobody is in charge of your body. You're in charge of your body. You're in charge of your finances, how you spend money. If you're a boozer, like to go out, spending your money on booze all the time, that's that much less you're going to have. You and your wife and a baby or whatever, for example. Spend wisely. Save wisely. You may need it someday. Unfortunately, a lot of us will as we get older. We don't ever think we're going to get a heart attack or stroke or something. It just happens. You think you're really healthy. Something went wrong somewhere. Somewhere, all right? Then you got to face that reality that you have to attend to this stuff. A lot of money involved. So save. Insurance don't work out here. Don't even go for those plans. They're bullshit. And you got to pay the hospital up front anyway. And then you don't even know if the insurance company is going to reimburse you for it. They say they will, but a lot of people got fucked over. And you don't really need. The hospitals are so cheap out here. You don't need insurance policy. If you're going to pay a couple of $100 a month for insurance policy, come on, man. Over time, look what you're spending. Just put that money in the bank. So when something does come up, you just use that money. Comprende? God, I hope so, man. Anyway, my breaks. I'll be back in a few. Damn, I'm stuffed. Okay, where are we now? Since I actually started using the treadmill, I do feel better. Um, it does make a difference. Walking, everything else, you could really. When I was I do a lot of. I don't just take taxi cabs everywhere. We walk. We walk considerable. We go up 4 flights of stairs here and there. Not out of breath. Of course, don't smoke a cigarette before anybody. Go up 4 long, fully recommended. You have to rest for a couple of seconds after each flight. I don't do that because walking and doing it you're off just very sedentary. There was a while that I was kind of sedentary for a while, and I said, "Fuck this." What's the use of taking all these supplements and all this other shit if you're not going to take care of some other shit? Where is Cano? I'm to Cano. I'm to Cano. You know what Cano means? It's usually referring to an American. If you haven't figured it out yet. Very good. I've heard 1,000 shows since I've ever been on YouTube. What is considered a good income of living out here, but that changes all the time because of the inflation. That's bottom lining it. Really, what you make out here, yeah, kind of, yeah. Uh-huh. That's what it's all about. Yeah, Americano. Just for short, call it Cano with a K, you know. Yeah. It's really up to you how you want to make your lifestyle out here. You know, I can sound like every other fucking vlogger on here talking about, you know, what they think is this. It's not true. It's your personal lifestyle. Do you buy vitamins all the time? What do you buy? Do you like to eat out a lot? There's all these little factors that not everybody puts in there. That's why it's worth talking about it again, because if you've been on YouTube for a while and you're just a listener, not really a participant, heard it all. As well as I've. That's why I got to introduce. Everything is based on variables. Everything is based on your own personal spending habit. You know, we know one guy there was maybe the tops $550 a month. He started off doing that a long time ago. It was less than that at the time when he first came to the Philippines. It got so bad for him that he started really ripping off people and getting to the e-begging stages beyond belief. Of course, he never paid me. You know, look where he is today. Didn't really work. I think you're fooling yourself thinking, I want to go to the Philippines. I can't wait. I'm only making maybe $1,000 a month on some kind of pension or a disability or whatever. Oh, I can make it because I've been reading all these stories that people are surviving out here and they're able to meet their needs. Yeah, sure, if you want to starve yourself. There's no food stamps out here, bud. There's no food stamps. Where I went, I say on my show a lot, if you ever listen, is that I don't like being married to my laptop. He's sitting there. I'm not mobile. I'm not on my phone. I'm on my laptop. And I need to take little periodical breaks now and then to break the monotony of sitting there, maybe in an uncomfortable position on here. You know, it's better on a phone. You're mobile. You can do that. I don't do any live streaming on the phone. Okay, hope I answered your question on that. But yeah, you can survive out here. Sure, you can survive on a phone. You get like the dumpiest little apartment you could ever find, and you want to eat like a rabbit or something, eat some carrots and whatever. You want to eat grass or something, you know, go out there and graze with the cattle. Try it. Sure, you might. Are you going to live well? That's the whole thing. Living well. I mean, look, you're coming out here. Let's make sense of this whole thing. You're retired. Worse than what you lived in when you were like back in for a minute. You're not going to live as well as you did. Programs out there, if you're low income, X amount of food stamps per month income, governmental programs to help you out with supplemental medical stuff besides your retirement money, Social Security. You don't have that out here. You got to face that reality when you decide to come out. You don't have, factor that in. So if you can find ways of making extra money legally, whether you're investing in another property, reselling it, or whether, that's if you want to flip houses, it still has to, even that will have to be done with a Filipino. There's different options you can. Unfortunately, as a foreigner, you just don't have many options. You're limited. Just like if you work for an employer, he determines what kind of car you're going to drive, what kind of house you can live in, or if you can even afford a house, or how much rent you could pay to rent a house or an apartment, or how good your furniture is. Your employer, unless you have your own business, he's in charge of your whole. This guy who writes your checks can live. Now he's getting rich off you, and you're just basically going to survive on what he does labor. And it's usually not enough. You can't always live the high lifestyle unless you're a total professional. You and your wife are both making professional salaries in America. Then you can swing it. Professional making professional money that can't swing it. But one of the reasons they can't swing it is this little phenom that goes on. You're making more money, but money. You just want a fancy house. You don't want a basic car to get you. You want to show off to the Joneses and the Smiths next door. That's your something. Okay? I mean, that's where they go wrong and that's where they go broke. I'm making more money, so I'm going to spend. That's how people work it, at least I know in the United States. Always trying to impress the neighbors. They go broke by trying to impress the neighbors. And with the inflation going on, come on, man. Even a married couple making professional money. They figure, well, we're both making good money. Honey, let's go in and let's go buy this house with like fucking 15 bedrooms. There's maybe 5 people at most living in the family. 2 parents, 3 children. What the fuck do you need 15 bedrooms for? For what? Oh, to show the measure of your success by the kind of car that you drive, the kind of house that you live in America. How ridiculous is that? That's ridiculous. Those are the ones that get into trouble. The wife is usually spending the money while she's out there getting her hair coiffed, getting makeup, and going out having expensive lattes every day. While the husband's slave labor to give that woman the lifestyle that she wants, then she winds up overspending his money on unnecessary shit on a daily basis, and that adds up. And I did share a story on there once before about a woman who basically made her husband and her family broke, running up his credit card, needing money. So he's over there. He had a professional job. He was making good money, expensive cars, everything to satisfy the woman. Working, she just spent on her female friends, get up and get their hair done, get their makeup, go out for their lattes and mochas and all that stuff. That shit adds up. She, you know, spends out credit cards. Then all of a sudden he notices he's getting all these overdue bills. This mail coming in. Honey, what's this all about? How did our credit card? He winds up having to sell the house. He winds up having to sell one of his cars because the woman was spending all this fucking money. Oh, that's a nightmare right there. That's a nightmare. Philippines, to be honest, says Frank, I think Rickshaw should have stayed. You know what, Jerry? I think so too. I go tune in on his show every other day or so, see how he's doing, and for what I hear, he's kind of living it tough with that kid. The kid is, the kid's supposedly, Ohio of all places, you have to move. I guess he has relatives out. God, Ohio? I've been in Ohio, believe me. Been in Indiana, Ohio, all those places. My brother used to live in Indiana. I've been to Ohio and all that shit. Just all flat fucking farmland and just, if you like farmland, I guess you'll love the atmosphere, agriculture, but there's nothing there. You go to big city, corrupt, Cincinnati and all that. Not the place to raise your kid as far as I'm concerned, but hey, to each his own. No, he's going to have more trouble living. He's going to have to live up to it, and he's never going to say that he was wrong. He's never going to say he was wrong. Nope. Pennywise says Rickshaw now complains in the USA. His Google map led him wrong, and he was not reminded by his phone about a meeting. Sounds like user error. I don't know what happened. But he's going to be bitching more now. He did have it better in the Philippines than he's going to have in the USA. I mean, half the furniture, every donations and whatnot, people felt sorry for him about the Philippines. So he got his way to move back to America. The guy that's supposed to have $14 million that he told me, another bullshit artist, right? One of his kids loose. Okay, the wife gets the house and everything. She's up there and she tries to sell the house. He put all that money into it, but she can do whatever she wants with the house. It goes with all of us, really, who buy a house. But I've got that situation where I got a house here, but all technicality says it's her house, certainly her. But because my relationship is good, I don't worry about this shit. I got a 25-year lease. Some people just don't protect themselves from that. He's not happy anywhere. Yeah, true. Pennywise says maybe he can poke him out. That's a lot of people do that. Oh, the poor kid. We want to see him happy. This poor guy. Hard time in the Philippines. Why did he buy that house in the Philippines anyway? That sucked. That skinny concrete structure that he lived in. The rooms are so small. They're like tiny closets. And they always never have water when they want, or water. What was he thinking? I don't know. 14 million to be living large out there in the Philippines. But apparently that was another statement that he inherited a lot of money for companies, mechanic, whatever he was. 15 mil. That's what he told me. I'm not lying. This is a true story. Times on the phone, and a long time ago, and he told me 14 million. Is there anybody other than myself that tells the truth on this fucking media? Yeah, he had a gun shop and this and that, and Pennywise says, I don't think the USA takes away his films if he applies for the Ohio license. I'm not sure how that works. I don't know. He does what he does. He complained in the Philippines. He's going to complain back in USA. Now, I want you also to keep in mind, he has had some kind of little stuff in the past. And he's up there in age. He's big and slanky. This guy's 8 or something, right? Maybe 6'10". Kind of slanky, but he's tall. And every now and then he does have some health problems. The kid is still young. What happens to his child? Him, I suppose he has a brother out there. I guess he'll go with his brother. I don't think he'd want to send it back to the mother. I don't know. And the kid's going to get used to, like any woman would, get used to the American lifestyle, not want to go back. But he's had his share of health problems. And he never really looks healthy to me for his age. I don't know if you guys made that observation or not, or is it just me? He doesn't really look healthy for his age and build and everything else. Pennywise says, then he says he does not like to drive fast, but then why soup up the engines on his vehicle? I don't know what makes people do anything. No, 14 million, not 40. Jiffy Peaches. 14 million. How many Monopoly board games buy to get that much? Well, not everybody's truthful. How many truthful people do you find on YouTube? And we can name the players easily, very easily. We could all name the players. People lie about their situation. But, I get my laughs from people who like to dictate how much money I make or dictate to other people how I'm living. I live in a wood swamp. That was, I don't know. Who was it? Passport? Maybe a virgin came up with that. Just because there's a dirt road and there's limitations that when it rains, it doesn't drain. There's no swamp here. And I'm not living out in the boons either. That's another one. I'm not living out in the boons. Away from here, in a 5-minute walk off the highway. Okay. I'm not out. I've seen properties and been to out here. You got to drive in from the high miles. No, we don't live that way. We live fairly close to the highway. And we're not in a totally different town. We are in Santa Fe. We are in Santa Fe. Santa Fe is not another town. This is part of Barangay of some sort. That is part of the town. We are in Santa Fe. We're not downtown Santa Fe. Inside the Santa Fe. And if you go to the highway from where I live, you get on a trike, for example, you get into proper Santa Fe in like 5 minutes. Boons here. Just far from it. There's no swamps around here. That's a joke, somebody. It's a nice area. There are a few nice homes here, too. And I know several people around here that have. We have a field across the street, which is nice. You got a few cows. Donation coming in here. We got a donation period. Oh, that's my man. Well, thank you very much for that. You've been a good. I really appreciate that a lot. 2,500. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. It's a good day so far. Remember, every day is a good day when you could get up and you could breathe and use your arms. And a lot of people just don't appreciate the simple things. And, like my show, I get some small donations here and there. It could be like where I don't get any donations at all. It wouldn't be any different, really. I mean, as far as, concrete expectation that I have to make super chat on my show. Okay. It's not written in the rules. It's, of course, it's a red screen, my friend. That's a red screen. Now, we haven't seen that in a while, red screen. I really appreciate when people do send in donations because it speech yesterday. If you were listening, I said that I was ready to can this whole fucking thing for real. That did shows off. That I would basically not come on anymore. I would just leave my shows on, just get a little ads. And I was at that start seeing in, because I said in detail yesterday or last night before I went to bed, I think it was, I need an incentive to stay on here, considering adversities, bullshit, lies. You got to have an incentive. All right, not because, well, it's my hobby and passes to tell them that. I mean, even I get bored with this shit. But to encourage somebody to stay online, to make more shows, yeah, I admit it a little bit. Okay, it does. I'm not going to. That's the incentive that at this point will try a point where how many years I've been on here, never making money, never really being monetized. And it was okay for me for a while. But after a while, now that constant question, why am I still fucking on here? My girlfriend hates YouTube. University. But it kept on doing it. Then I just noticed in the past, probably 6 months, maybe more, I asked myself, what is the purpose? Is it to hear my own voice? I don't even like my own voice. Okay, sure what the fuck I sound like is I have one fucked up ear. Even when I listen to my own shows, I don't know, I may not really be hearing what my voice is really like. So when my screen does light up, sure, I admit it gives me the encouragement to keep on. Because otherwise, what's the purpose? Everybody's on the platform on here. Everybody on here that has a show, Philly numbers, they're all on there to make money, to supplement their income in case there's emergencies. Medical could wipe you out. And I don't care what you might claim you have in the bank. I got to sneeze too. Hold on. Oh. Artemio has actually come in for me several times with donations. And I really, really appreciate that. Pennywise says, Frank, the only incentive you need is that you were doing a good deed in vanquishing the expat trash in the Philippines. Frank, you were thinking globally, but acting locally and cleaning up the world. Nah, man, I'm just trying to protect myself. That's all it really is, man. You're not going to eradicate all the creeps from YouTube, but experience with one of them, that crossing the line, it gets really that ugly. And that's when you really have to do something. And I really didn't want to do this, even starting with Fazio. And he's not off my list. I think he knows that he's pushed the envelope almost as much as Barry did with me in certain ways. Just like Barry is. And, he thinks nothing's ever going to happen to him. Legally, anyway. He knows I got the funds anytime I fucking want. And I've got the evidence. Never got added to it. So he wants to play hardball with me. He's found the right person to do it with. At this point, that suit against him actually worth it? You got to think about it to do a lawsuit against anybody. It's very hard. He spent, battle it out 1-to-1, which he'll never do. He's just not in shape to do that. I don't want to hurt the guy. And I laugh about that. The little fellow. The guy's shorter than me. And he's calling me little fella. Of course, he's fat. He's bigger than me in that way in girth. Little fella? I'm 5'7", not 5'3" or 5'4", which is his height. I remember, I met the guy in person. I met him in person, same as Barry. Remember Barry was 5'8", and you all saw the photographs. Not only is he shorter, but overweight. Did you know that with the medical organizations, and I'll even tell you what I'm supposed to be. His height, his outline to a max of 145 for his height and frame. He'd still be obese for his height. Okay, he still would be obese. For me, 5'7", I think the guideline went below 145. I'm plus, and I'm happy with that. I maybe have 2 inches on my. That's nothing. That's like nothing. Just weighed myself this morning, 171. But according to medical statistics, okay, I should be somewhere around, preferably 145, somewhere around there, 140, which is ridiculous. If I lost that much weight, like fucking Barry, man. Big stomach now because he's not active. That's where everything is settling in his. Got the Santa Claus stomach now. But no, for my frame and height, for me, is about where I am right now, which I maintained for a long time. I'm 171. There was some point in time, a matter of months ago, that 78, almost 179. I said, what the fuck, man, really? Am I getting out on signals? Chat disconnected. Please wait while we try now. Yeah. So, you can't go. They just give you a basic idea, but it's really according to your body frame. I could never, at 100, I think the most I've ever lost, and I was living in Hawaii at the time, I was down to 158 or something, and that was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? 148. Concern. I got to check my phone and see if I put it out here. Hold on a second here. Good question. Where's my phone? Here it is. Oh yeah, there's no way and everything else that's going to work for me down to 100 feet. They say you're healthier when you're thinner, but here's a little clue. When you get older, you want to have a little bit extra weight on you to stay healthy. You need that. You don't want to be frail. And what they define as frail, it's not realistic. Hold on a minute here. I'm just checking my connection here on my phone. See if I'm getting out. Apparently I am. Okay, that's cool. See if I'm getting out. Okay, real good, man. Like a skeleton. There's no way in the world. So as you get older, keep a little bit of poundage on you, a little bit of extra weight. You don't want to be real thin because your health depends on that. You need to be a little bit overweight. I mean, they think your ideal weight should be to live a healthy life. But when you've been going on your time, what we got here? Okay. All your life, you've been obese. It already did a lot of damage to your body and your arteries. Some things are irreversible that you can't help. But it's never too late to start up anything that's going on. It's never too late. It's better than nothing, like me quitting smoking. I haven't, but obviously, wouldn't it be better if I did, right? I know that. So I try to do other things that are healthy. There's no excuse. I never make an excuse for my smoking, for example. I don't drink. I never make excuses for it. I never have, and I never will make excuses. It's a bad thing to do. Hence I'm taking. So while I am still smoking, I try to do other things that could balance out or help, combat the effects of the free radicals crazy in the inside of your body from taking in from the environment, what industrial shit in the air, out, all that is going in your lungs, whether you smoke or not, whether you like it or not. Live in a city, you're going to see what I mean. That's why I always tell you I can't live in a city, and I really won't. Even if it means being closer to a hospital, man, I just don't think that's a concern. All right, so we got our screen lit up a little bit with 2,500 pesos. Thank you again to our top tip. I can't even pronounce your name. Atomio. Whoever you may be, maybe people will follow suit with this. You just never know. Yeah, survival is we as individuals, man, do naturally. And we do everything we can in a world living in a world these days. We may have the technology going for us, but technology is this. If we didn't have the ability to get on the internet, businesses would fold. It would bring down it because we depend now on this type of communication for business and other purposes. The world would collapse, and they're predicting that there's going to be some kind of cyber attack. And I've heard this more than one where they come up with this shit. But I mean, anything is possible. Just maybe when you think that the state of finances in America and other places is very stable, anything could turn at any time, at any moment, and your whole overnight. Or a medical situation can change your life too. A lot of people don't think that way. You get up in the morning, yeah, I'm all solid with this. Okay. Maybe you got a few super chats and you think you're living well. Well, you'd have to get a lot of super chats to live well, on top of whatever you earn on your Social Security, if you're lucky enough, and quadruple. I mean, they have, they got a military pension, they got Social Security, they maybe have another pension from another job. They may have a wife who worked all her life, pensions, and they're living large. And I worked with a guy once that was like that. He wound up dying 5 months later of a heart attack because he had a desk job at the warehouse, which is one of the places I worked for the Parks Department. Fills out requisitions for supplies for the plumbing department, electrical department, HVAC department, carpentry department, all that shit that come to the warehouse to get their supplies. Plumbers would come and get their closed nipples and whatnot. And, we had to supply gloves, whatever they needed. We supplied these departments. Their own department had a budget of X amount of money per month goods, but a lot of times they were finagling all this shit. They were buying pieces of garbage can liners, extra large size, leaf and lawn size, and they were taking the shit home, okay? They'd have it in their trucks, but when they went home, they would grab a shitload of bags of that shit, which is expensive, by the way. Then there's leather gloves and shit they were ordering. And many times I seen it in my own truck, and people use my truck. I see it laying on the floor, dirty. These gloves are probably about $40, but it didn't come out of their own pocket. I see them laying there, misused, dirty, from their feet was on it. Or they just take these gloves home. There's a lot of finagling that was going on where I worked. A whole lot. They were even taking gasoline home. It's amazing. Just amazing. The corruption, no matter where you work. You don't chance that. We had a guy that was taking a little park sheds where they kept like lawnmowers and stuff like that. Broke into it. Only he had the key, and the supervisor had the key to get in these little. They looked like bigger than a CR. They're like little storage places that they would have in each little park. If that's part of your route, you would go there and open it up, and there was in there, weed eater, and maybe even a little supply of gasoline and oil. And these mofos would go in there. They'd go in the park. They'd go in there. They'd take this shit. Then in the morning, they'd report it as in there, man. The weed eater's gone. Man, they did so much of this. Some of them, Ted, a supervisor in one of the departments, and she was okay. Ted, well, he's another story. Never trusted him to begin with, but he's one of them. Shit, never able to come back to the party. You get greedy. People get greedy. Oh, opportunity. Welcome to the human race. Otherwise, the dialogue is kind of dying down on here, so that might be a clue to get the fuck off here today. But we're here, and I'll tell you, that donation that was just made, on this show, probably was the savior. I don't think Artemio. I don't think you realize what you just did. Just saying, I'm canning this shit. I had a big speech about this yesterday before, but it's gotten down to that point where I wanted to get on a platform, that incentive to keep me on. If I didn't see any more donations coming in, I was going to can it. Just quite honestly, I was just going to can it. But it was a fair and adequate donation, really. He didn't have to send that. Hard, but he's been a good donator to my show. His name on here. It's not the first. Of course, thank you again for that. That's very generous of you. Thank you very much. That gives me incentive. I don't. It's not a necessity. Because things add up. A little here, a couple of bucks here, this and that. By the end of the month, along with your AdSense, spendable. Not great or anything like that, but I mean, it works. And it's appreciated. That's the saving factor. I don't think you were on last night on. This is, morning. What is it today? Saturday. Today's Saturday. On too early. I can't help it. You see, I get up early. Not because I want to. It's just that, my butts, I get up. It's not like I want to, but it kind of is what it is. I can't control it. Not really. So that's why, because sleeping, maybe be a half hour, an hour late, checking for messages. And I figure I'd do a show in the morning. It kind of coincides with the not living in the Philippines, really. So I have a good percentage of my audience that actually does not live in the Philippines proper. So it's these people generally. And there's a few locals that come in on here, like Jerry and people like that. So it's not really the ideal time. If you're going to do a show, I would think, I don't know, 10:30 a.m. Philippines time is probably the best time to actually do a show on here. It's you hear all these trolls on here, Aloe and all these people that can't get monetized, and they make fun of anybody who's making any money. When I'm not making any money on my show, they're really happy. It gives them something to talk about. Well, Frank started to make money, but now he's broke. Nobody's donating. It's what they want to hear. So when I do get money, it's like, it stymies them. It just kind of puts them in a frozen thought process, Oh, shit, well, how do I approach this now? Because he's getting donations on his show. They don't want that to happen at all. They can't get monetized themselves is a problem. And if they could, they would let me. Look what happened with Popeye. He almost busted a fucking artery when he got monetized and decided to go through with it. I'm going to give all my money to Yats. Well, that remains to be seen. And you have to make at least $100 a month in order to collect anything per month. If you didn't know that, you have to make $100 to get anything. Okay, so this is the guy that always saying that I don't need to get monetized. I don't need it, the money. I don't want the money. People that are saying that I'm going to donate all my money, so all my super chat for this. It's all greed. It's all going in their pocket. Not everybody, because if I make a promise about something, I keep it. I am not operating a fund on here. It's a personal fund. It has nothing to do with chat that comes on my show. Okay. At any time, at any month between now and Christmas, I'm going through with what I said. Out 25,000 pesos to local people. Danny didn't come out of his own fund to it. When he went to go get a picture made, what was that all about? Is he trying to smitting? Take a picture. Well, that's called buying friendships, and this is what this guy's trying to do. He's trying, because locals don't bother with him. They think he's a crazy man. And you've been alone that long in your life, man. Look, if I had the choice, I like my privacy to a point. I like a little bit of solitude, but not a lot. If I'm making money and having people in your life, like a girlfriend or wife, you're going to have companionship. I'm going to go with the battery's going to go real quick here. I'd go with the companion. have somebody in your life that made this choice that was made for me, that's exactly what I do. There's no question about it. The trade-off. It's just hard being alone in this world. We all, to a certain degree, some are more social than others. I'm not. I mean, I'm a very sociable animal, but I make choices to limit how many people are around me at one time. People, I send doubt with anything or anybody. 1% of doubt on anything, whether it's business related, money related. I mean, look at that creep that fucking stalked me and kept on insisting, knocking on your door whether you like it or not. Now that's creepy. That is creepy. And you wonder why I don't like to bother with foreigners, because most of them are creepy. They really are. Just creepy. I don't need any more. I'm happy having a ready-made family here. It's cool. I already raised one child, and as a result of that, total disrespect. I don't have kids in my life, but her kids are cool. We got 2 kids actually living here full time, but her other kids do come welcome. They can stay a couple of weeks, couple of months. That's fine. I don't mind. It's essentially you just don't have family anymore. Okay. So they might have whatever it might be. A lot of negativity. And you got to separate yourself. You really do. For your own survival and your own mental health. So I make on my own. They don't make on my own. How much I want to be around times that I don't want to be around a lot of people at all. I'm happy with my lifestyle. I have no problem with it. Because I put myself around people half the time, the other half the time, I don't put myself around a lot of people. It's a good balance, and it works for me. Works real well, actually. Foreign country, to be around the same people I got away from, from the country I was living in. I moved to the Philippines, and henceforth there are Filipino people that I'm around most of the time. And through my girlfriend, I've met a lot of Filipinos out here, and I do have friendships with a lot of Filipinos. Not only that, but local government officials, things like that. We know them real well because she became friends even through Zumba, meeting important people out here, mayor's wife, things like that. You can meet a lot of people in a small town, but you got to be willing to be social. And my girlfriend happens to attract people. She does. There's something about her personality. A friend. People even give her things, purses, all kinds of shit they buy for her. They like her. So when you do good things for people, show that you're approachable to people. If you're unapproachable, you got a really bad attitude, and it shows out from the minute someone new meets you. You in 5 minutes whether that person is worthy of being an associate, a friend of yours. You'll know right away. I'm very good at that. I can make through my own observations of people I meet for the first time, whether they're full of shit, whether they be a good friend to talk to. I'm pretty good with that. So far, I've been real good with that. But I don't choose to be around a whole shit. And that's been nothing new in my life ever since I was a kid. I wasn't the guy that during breaks, during classes in high school, everybody's out in the corner smoking cigarettes and admiring the rich family. They bought they'll hang around the guy with the convertible MG. That was fun. I never did that. When classes were over, man, I was just out of there, man. Classes for the day was over. I went straight home. I didn't hang around a lot. I didn't do that. Unless I was on the track team at the time, which I was at one point. Well, believe it or not, long distance running, if you could believe that. I was. Not for long, though. It's my ligaments in my feet, which is fucking killing me. The coach says, you got to work it out. Work it out. I can't even walk right now. You want me to run it out? Well, his psychology or philosophy really didn't work for me. I was out of there. So that was it for my career in cross-country running. And I didn't have long legs. So what I have, we're doing a relay, passing the baton. And he saw I had potential. He wanted me to stay. I said, no, man, if my feet are reacting the way it is now, it's not going to happen. And it didn't happen. I just decided to make up my mind at that point and say that no, I'm done with this, you know. So I never really got into any of the sports except for a very young age, 13, 14, whatever the hell I was, 15. A little bit of martial arts, but that didn't last long either. Could have been a contender. Could have been a contender. I learned a little bit, though, I must say, but I didn't just learn from there. Throughout the years, even into my adult, I've always kind of dabbled with it on my own. I didn't need classes. I just tried to remember all the which are special moves you need in order to engage in a certain striking position, or whether it's a roundhouse or whatever you want to do. Uh, Learning the were very important. They played a big role, and I did learn that. Whether I could actually execute that to this day at my age, I really don't know. I mean, I don't just go on the treadmill. If you came in here sometime, like my girlfriend, she see me making all these crazy moves. She knows what I'm doing, of course, you know. But I do it for self protection, and just try to, keep going of these moves called the katas, and incorporate that into a form of exercise. Utilizing this in an actual fight situation on the street, it come in handy. I couldn't guarantee anything. I could never guarantee, no matter what I recall from the little bit of training I ever had. No, I'm not going to say that, yeah, I'm going to be another Bruce Lee. That just ain't going to happen. Good. But you'd be surprised remembering a few moves can do for you. Could actually, sure, it's happened before. Maybe you were able to retain some of that information from when you were like 15 years old. If you practiced during the years, which I did actually. I didn't go to any other classes. I didn't get into all that. If I would have continued, I would have been probably at least a second degree black belt if I continued it. I never did. And I was just about to go into my brown belt at the time. And they went, and it's according to what your discipline is. Because you start off with white, and most people start off with white. Then they might go to yellow, then they brown, then they go to black. And some of it is like simply white to yellow to purple to green or brown, and then so forth and so on and all that. Every discipline has its own kind of belts that you wear during training. Oh, if I actually would have continued. A train of thought. No matter what martial arts can you really apply this in a real battle with somebody? So I question that a lot. Not everybody's going to stay still for you and get in the right position for you to strike. This is a fact. And what you practice to play, I've never had to use. Actually, I did with that one guy, John, when I worked at Corvettes. I did actually utilize that with him, and it worked. But that was about it. I never got into a fight where I needed to try to use any knowledge or anything with martial arts, because I really didn't have much training. I'd probably be almost too scared to use it on the street, thinking that, what if this doesn't work, man? And a lot of these guys who claim to be black belts and all that shit, they lose fights. They get a little bit too cocky, and they think that because what I learned. But in a real fight on the street, are you really going to get to use it? Sometimes you could, but are you really going to be able to use what you learned? You could if you practice a lot, but not everybody is going to be in the right position or the distance from you. Or how about your leg strength? How about how high you can get your leg to make contact with the target? There's a lot of little factors in there that's just maybe not going to apply. So as you can see and hear my honesty on here, I can tell you that as a young man, I started to get some of this training, but I never continued it other than on a personal basis. And whether that make any difference at all, I really don't know, because I haven't had to utilize any of this really in my older adult years. So I have no clue. Could it help me? Yeah, I suppose it could, Everything works out perfect, body positioning, everything else. For them, for you, restrictions that you might have on moving your body a certain way, your leg is a lot of restrictions that might apply. So if you know which restrictions you do have, you just don't use those restrictions. Use what you know how to do, which you have the switch your legs, your arms, whatever it might be, and utilize what you could, not what you can't, because that's going to work against you. And even if you utilize the good features that you have, whether it's your arms or legs, and whether you can get them high enough to make any difference, even that's not 100%. It's just really not. you know. So we could all say we did this and we did that, and it looks good on paper, whatever. But it doesn't mean that you're a pro at what you do. See how honest I'm being? I'm telling you that I took up this shit, and I'm already telling you. I'm not trying to use hyperbole, exaggeration on here. I'm just telling you the truth. Yes, I did do a little bit of this. Never continued with it as far as going to a dojo and all that stuff. I wish I did, but a lot of money wasn't coming in when I was a kid. My parents, were not really endowed with a lot of money and stuff. So but it doesn't mean that I didn't do it on my own time. I mean, yeah, I did that, and I still do actually, but not as well as I was able to do it as a younger kid. Obviously, I'm older. My reflexes might be a little slower. Muscle strength, I need to build up on that. So that that's honesty. That's called honesty. And I can embellish my story. I can say, yeah, I'm a black belt, this, that. I can kick everybody's ass. I know I can't kick everybody's ass. I can't do that. That's impossible. I am 69 years old. I mean, let's get real. You don't really want to get into a physical confrontation at any age, really. But at your older age, you really don't want to, because if they hit you the right way, you can get hurt pretty bad or even die. Or fracture your hip or something. If you fracture your hip, it's all over. The one thing you don't want to do as you get older is to fracture, because you'll probably be dead in 12 months. You're probably saying, well, why is that? I just fractured my hip. Well, fractured hips at an older age, it doesn't heal very well. You're in pain all the time, because you're not going to be walking much, and that's going to affect your cardio. That's why people wind up dying about 12 months later. Look it up. Just look up hip fractures at an older age. Bad thing to happen. Just punch it in a Google. Okay. All right. We're going to probably end this show right now. I think I've been on here over 2 hours. Boy, my little lives seem to be getting longer and longer as time goes by. And we don't want to do that on there because I lose my audience attention. Some of them stick around and listen. Nothing to do, I guess. But if you learned something from my show, then hey, I walk away from this feeling pretty good. We got a decent donation on the show today. Knock that. All I could do is show my appreciation. Hope people continue to be interested in my show to allow me to stay on. This was my incentive today. You don't know this, but I did talk about it last night. And if I didn't see any more donations, I was going to just think about really canceling rid of all my shows. Just not doing it anymore. But this gave me the incentive of my show, and that's all I need. Well, it's substantial. Made all the difference in the world. That's why we're here right now. And I was on for over 2 hours. All right, thanks. I should say my thanks and get the hell off here. Another time, Timio, and Pennywise, and Sexpat Hunter, and who else was on here today? Jiffy Geechee, Battaglia. And who else was on here? I like to acknowledge people who've been on my show here. Okay, that's pretty crazy Joe. Expat who got discommunicated from my show, Pennywise. Philippines and Beyond was on here too. All right, we've had a few people on here. Very encouraging. Very good. And with that, we sign off in a good way this morning. Thanks for caring. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for giving.